Is Gorilla Grodd worth building in DC Worlds Collide? As the main tank of the Debuff Team, he's definitely an important piece of one of the top 3 teams in the game right now. But does he hold up outside of that comp? Today, we're going to go over his entire kit, strengths and weaknesses, gear recommendations, team synergies, and whether or not you should invest. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future reviews. And drop a comment below, who should I cover next for the Debuff Team? Let's go ahead and start off with Gorilla Grodd's skill breakdowns. His ultimate targets the enemy back row, dealing superpower damage equal to 80% of his attack and knocking them back for 25% of their action bar. On top of that, he adds 1 stack of slow and 1 stack of weaken for 2 turns. If the enemy already has at least 4 debuffs or control effects, the knockback increases by 15%. At higher levels, this knockback improves further, making him an excellent disruptor against fast teams. His basic attack isn't flashy, but it is very useful. It deals physical damage starting at 85% of his attack and applies 1 stack of armor break for 2 turns. At higher levels, the damage scales up past 100%, so it's not just chip damage, it's utility with a little bit of a bite. Now for his first passive. At the start of battle, Grodd gains a 40% damage reduction for 2 rounds. That's already huge, but the kicker is whenever he takes damage from an enemy who is debuffed, he gains an additional 5% damage reduction for each type of debuff that attacker had. At level 2, that number goes up to 8%, so combine this with the Debuff Team's natural synergy, and Grodd becomes insanely tanky as the fight goes on. His second passive gives him a 30% chance to increase a random debuff on the attacker by 1 stack for 3 turns whenever he gets hit. This chance scales up to 50% at higher levels, and once you add his badge bonuses, the passive gets even stronger. So let's go ahead and look at his badge now. At level 10, if the attacker has no debuffs, Grodd inflicts weaken for 3 turns. At level 20, if the attacker uses an ultimate and already has 4 or more debuffs, Grodd adds fear for 2 turns. And at level 30, when an ally takes damage, there's a 10% chance for this passive to trigger. That essentially makes Grodd a debuff engine for the whole team. Now I want to go over his strengths and weaknesses. So what makes Grodd strong and where does he fall short? So first for his strengths. He's the core tank for the Debuff Team, and without him, that comp doesn't function as well as it could. His damage reduction scaling makes him incredibly hard to take down if the enemy is loaded with debuffs. He extends debuffs, spreads new ones, and generally amplifies everything the Debuff Team is trying to do. And his badge gives him long-term value in Arena and Elite Arena. For his weaknesses, he's not really meta-defining outside of the Debuff Team. If you're not running that comp, there are probably better tanks you can invest in. In PvE, he does fine overall, but struggles against full green teams. Another one is he usually dies first, although with Raven, that's not bad since she can revive him back to full HP. And finally, he's not very free-to-play friendly. Right now, you can only obtain him through summons, so he's pretty much locked behind RNG. In terms of game modes, for Arena, he's excellent when you're running the full Debuff Team. He's tanky, disruptive, and Raven can bring him back to life when he falls. In Elite Arena, his role is basically the same, a sturdy frontliner who sets up the rest of the team. And in PvE and story content, he does well, especially against bosses where debuff matters, but again, he struggles heavily against heavy green lineups. Overall, his performance is highly tied to whether or not you're building the Debuff Team. As a standalone tank, he's average. As the core of one of the best comps in the game, he becomes very, very strong. Alright, now for some gear recommendations. The primary build for him should be a 4-piece HP set for the 6% HP boost, plus a 2-piece block set for the 5% block chance. This maximizes his survivability. The alternative set would be 4-piece block set with a 2-piece HP set. This gives him a higher chance to block hits and trigger his passive a little bit more often. And for a utility build, you can do a 2-2-2, 2 pieces of speed, 2 pieces of HP, and 2 pieces of block. This one's a little more niche, but helps him cycle turns faster and gets his debuffs rolling early. For stats, you're going to prioritize HP percentage, defense percentage, and block rate as your main goals. Speed is a nice bonus, but don't bother with attack or crit. He's not here to do damage. Now for the artifacts. For the artifacts, I do like the Eskrima sticks on him. He'll gain 4 stacks of firm stand for 2 rounds after his first ult. And when they rank up to level 2, he'll get a 20% damage reduction for the entire battle. And level 3 gives him a 20% heal for his max HP. Another one I kind of like on him is going to be Bane's Venom. Now this isn't going to necessarily be the best one for him, but this one is still pretty good. Bane's Venom is going to be okay if you just want to heal him up. When he drops below 25% for the first time, he'll heal for 20% of his max health. At level 2, he also gains 2 stacks of Recuperate for 2 rounds. And at level 3, the healing amount is increased to 35%, and he gains 3 stacks of Recuperate instead of 2. The next one I want to talk about is the Screwdriver Helmet. I believe this one is also pretty good for him. When he gets to 50% HP, he gains Invulnerable until his next turn. This helps keep him alive during enemy ultimates. At level 2, while the Invulnerable is active, if he gets attacked, he inflicts 1 stack of Fragile on the attacker for the rest of the battle. At level 3, if he is in the invulnerable state, he also inflicts 3 stacks of slow for 1 turn on the attacker. This one's not bad. I feel like the fragile could be alright to add another debuff, and the slow is always really nice. The next 2 I want to mention are going to be more free-to-play friendly, and they're very straightforward, so I really won't have to read them. The first one is going to be the pink sphere. This one's going to increase your HP. And then the green sphere, this one is going to increase your defense. These ones are here just for stat sticks, and nothing really other than that. As far as team synergies, Grodd pairs best with the other core members of the Debuff Team, those being Sinestro, Raven, and Batman. Sinestro thrives when enemies are loaded with debuffs, and Grodd makes sure that it happens. Raven's revival skill keeps Grodd in the fight, even if he does go down first. And Batman helps keep the debuff pressure going with additional layering of the armor break skill. Together, these heroes make one of the strongest teams in the game right now, and Grodd is a very key piece for this team. So, is Gorilla Grodd worth your resources? If you're planning on building the debuff team, then yes, he's absolutely a must-build tank. His survivability, debuff strategy, and disruptive kit make him a backbone of this comp. But if you're not interested in the debuff team, he's optional. He's not completely useless, but there are other tanks who perform better outside of his synergy. Also, he's not very free-to-play friendly since he's only available through summons right now, so keep in mind if your gem stash and encrypted tokens are limited. So what's the final verdict for Gorilla Grodd? Well, if you're going to build the debuff team, he is a must build. There's really no other option to replace him with for the debuff team. And if you're going to use other comps, go ahead and skip Gorilla Grodd unless you really love him. That's my full review on Gorilla Grodd in DC Worlds Collide. Do you agree he's worth it only in the debuff team, or do you think he can shine outside of it? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any upcoming reviews. I plan on making this a whole series. We're going to go through each member of the debuff team, and then at the very end, we'll go ahead and do a full-on guide for the debuff team. If you want to see that, then stay tuned. Other than that, we will catch you in the next one.
tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, 'cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going